Well, it's finally here. Alabama taking on LSU this Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I hope you've enjoyed our extensive coverage right here on BamaInsider.com. Today, we finish out our preview with the two head football coaches talking about the keys to the game. We lead off with Nick Saban.
You know, I think Ed has done a really, really good job with, this team this year. They're very efficient in the passing game. Joe has done a really, really good job at quarterback. Totally different offensive scheme than what they've played in the past in terms of have capability to create balance in their offense with a really good runner and a good offensive line. But they also spread you out, create some matchup problems because of the great skill guys that they have, outside in their wide receiver core. Defensively, they're always very well coached team that plays really sound fundamentally. They've always got good guys in the back end, which they certainly do this year in terms of the cover people. And they got great team speed, so they're really good on special teams. So there's not a lot of weaknesses in what you see in this team. And when you play teams like this, I think the most important thing you can do is focus on what you have to do to prepare and know that execution is going to be critical in the game, and try to have a great week in terms of how you practice and prepare for the game and focus on that.
Tua's a fantastic player, as we all know. Great competitor. We totally expect him to play. Najee Harris is an outstanding running back, breaks a lot of tackles. Great wide receiver core led by Jerry Judy, is very fast. Those guys make a lot of plays. On defense, they're basically a 4-3. Only 5 returning starters, only giving up 15 points a game. Top defensive players, Jennings, Lewis, and Diggs. They're very good, very talented, play smart football. On special teams, they're very good and explosive, led by Jalen Waddell, number 17, excellent receiver. Henry Ruggs, very fast, excellent receiver, excellent return guys.
Now, all eyes are going to be on Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and that right injured ankle that he recently had surgery on. We've seen him throw on Monday and on Tuesday. He's looked great. His arm strength has been there. It's been pinpoint accuracy, but still, Nick Saban says it's a game-time decision. Hear what both coaches had to say about Tua Tagovailoa going into this weekend's matchup.
Right. Well, been pretty consistent on the message with Tua. If he can play in the game, it'll be a game-time decision. He did practice 2 days last week. We'll see where he's at today, and then we'll manage the reps accordingly. And when I say that, we cannot predict. If he goes out there today and he looks good, then his rep count is going to go up, and we'll prepare him as if he's going to have an opportunity to play in the game. If he has a setback during the week, we can't really control that, but that would change the plan. The way we practice on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, both quarterbacks are going to get pretty much the same reps, and that's probably how we'll manage it this week in terms of their preparation.
He's only got sacked 9 times. A lot of people are getting to him. Obviously, on the RPOs, there may be a power and a slant behind it. So the defensive line is playing the run while they're throwing the football behind you. So there's not been a lot of pressure on them. Obviously, last year I thought we did put some pressure on him, especially with a quarterback that's not very mobile. If he does play, I don't know if he's going to be mobile or not. So we'll find out.
Obviously, in the college football world, you have to go unbeaten to advance into the college football playoffs. Well, most of the time. Here's what Nick Saban and Ed Orgeron had to say about 1 versus 2 this weekend at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
I don't talk to him about that. We don't really talk about rankings. It doesn't matter where you're ranked. If you don't have success in what you're doing, you're not going to be ranked there long. So you need to focus on what you need to do to play well in the game and try to do the best job that you can so that you have the best opportunity to have success. And that's what we'd rather have our players focused on.
To get to where you want to go, it seems like you have to go undefeated. You have to beat Alabama. You have to keep on going, and then you have to win the SEC championship. Then you have to get college football playoffs. So if you start thinking about all that stuff, it becomes overwhelming for your football team. But we know what's at stake, but we don't talk about that. Today's going to be Tell the Truth Monday. I'm going to talk more about the Tiger Bowl than anything, about the guys that played well, because I want our guys loose and relax and go play a football game.
Now, Tua Tagovailoa isn't the only quarterback that matters in this game. Joe Burrow is 6'4", 216 pounds, PFF grade 92.6, 2,800 yards on the season, 30 touchdowns, been balling out, 350 yards per game. Here is what Nick Saban and Ed Orgeron had to say about Joe Burrow.
Well, I think that Joe is very capable of making every throw. I think he's very bright in terms of throwing the ball the right place relative to the defense. I think he's very athletic, so sometimes when those plays aren't there, he extends plays and makes plays down the field. And he also has the capability of running and creating some problems for the defense from that standpoint. So he's a very good scrambler, I guess, to run or to throw. And their receivers do a really good job when he does extend plays of playing scramble rules and trying to get themselves open so he has some options. So I think he fits the scheme very well, but I think he's a very talented guy, and I think he'd do well in any system. But because this is more of a spread system now, I think he can see what's happening and make good decisions, and he's been very effective.
Well, I'm glad that we have a great quarterback, and the championship team that I've been on always led by a great quarterback. Whether he was very talented, whether he had grit and character, toughness, I think our quarterback has it all. And obviously, Tua's an outstanding quarterback, so it's good to see. It's really good to see. But I think the one thing that you'll find with both quarterbacks that I know of, because I recruited Tua too, they're team players. It's about their football team. It's about winning, and they're unselfish. I think that's what makes both of these guys outstanding football players.
Nick Saban knows that Alabama's secondary is going to be challenged on Saturday. LSU has the number 2 pass offense in the entire country. So much talent on the outside. Here's Nick Saban talking about the matchups on the outside.
Well, I think this is obviously the most talented group of receivers we played against all season long. You know, they have any number of guys who play, but, you know, the two guys that are most productive are number 1 and number 2. One plays in the slot, one plays X most of the time. They move guys around, you know, sometimes relative to matchup. Those two guys have big-time numbers, but, you know, they have a core of guys, 5 or 6 guys that play and have roles in what they do. I think their tight end has played. Moss has played really well for them, you know, this year. So all in all, when you put the running back in the category, he's a really good receiver, really hard to cover, create some matchup problems, as well as these receivers that we're talking about. They have a lot of guys who can make plays on offense, which makes it very challenging for you on defense.
Now, Ed Orgeron talked about Raekwon Davis, Alabama's 6'7", 315-pound defensive end, but also mentioned that Alabama's defense is young, that they have 5, 6 freshmen that start on this defense. Here's Orgeron on Alabama's defense.
You know, Raekwon obviously is an outstanding player. I recruited Raekwon. He uses his hands very well. They have some young players up there. They still play with great technique. They still hold the line of scrimmage. They're still good pass rushers. Are they as dominant as they've been in the past? We're going to find out. There's some new players there, some new freshmen starting. They're good players. They just don't have the experience that they had years past.
Alabama has moved to a spread team, 338 yards per game. LSU on the other side has also moved to the spread attack, and you're starting to see it pay dividends, as Nick Saban says, when he compliments LSU's offensive playing style.
You know, we become more of a spread team. They have become more of a spread team. We've done it for a few years now. You know, this is their first time to really sort of open it up, and it's paid tremendous dividends. And I think it certainly features the skill players that they have in a very positive way, and the quarterback. And you know, it's an indication that when you put these skill players in open positions, how much more difficult it is to defend the space, you know, whether it's vertical or horizontal on the field. And, you know, you make it more difficult for the defense because they have to make a lot of plays in space. So, and I think that's the way the game is going now. And if you look at some of the most successful teams offensively, I think they're pretty much all playing that way. Much more difficult to make explosive plays just running the ball. And these guys make a ton of explosive plays because of what they've evolved to.
We were talking about that at 6 o'clock this morning, to be honest with you, about, the outside release slant. And we saw other teams not playing it very well, and they make big plays. We've all seen that. I do believe that if they're playing man coverage, you're probably going to catch the slant. But it should be for a 3 or 4 yard gain, not for a 10 or 15 yard gain. I believe that the tackles that we make in the open field are going to be critical. We're going to have to take those things away. Obviously, when you take those things away, you give up something else, and they're very good at finding it. So it's going to be a chess match. I do believe that Coach Aranda's been working on this for a long time, along with our analysts, and then we have a very good game plan. But it's going to come down to blocking and tackling. It always does.
All right, it's finally that time. It's time for your score predictions. Put them in the comment box. The tiebreakers are: how many yards will Tua Tagovailoa throw for, and how many yards will Joe Burrow throw for? Put them in the comment box. Please like and subscribe. We hope you've enjoyed our extensive preview coverage of Alabama versus LSU. Hey, and if you're an Alabama Crimson Tide football fan out there, now is the perfect time to sign up for our 50% off promotion. Get $50 to the Rivals fan store for Alabama gear. Get 3 months free on the back end of your subscription. The promo code at sign up is Bama1vs2. Hit the link in the subscription box. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Kyle Henderson coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama.